Hey guys, Alistair Hunt here with the Kingdom Relationship Network, and so excited to be able to launch this brand new initiative. But what is most exciting is I have the lady behind the scenes, the one who actually came up with the vision for the whole Kingdom Relationship Network, Miss Albertina. How are you?
Hi, Alistair. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to tell my story and to introduce this new initiative that we have for the children of Liberia.
Yes.
I am Miss Albertina Nayenti. I am the Executive Director for Kingdom Relationship Network. And we have this new initiative called Kingdom Relationship Initiative to help children in Liberia. The program is called the Vulnerable Child Education Sponsorship Program. We help children to get in school, to reduce the rates of child prostitute and drugs, and to get every child educated and to reduce the rates of poverty.
Great. So now let's talk a little bit about how it is to be a child in Liberia, especially in this village that we're talking about. We talked about them having to pay tuition to be able to go to school, but not every child can afford to pay tuition to go to school. So tell me a little bit about that.
So not every child is, have the opportunity to go to school in Liberia. Most of the kids live in the villages. They have to sell. A 12-year-old girl will go to sell in the streets, and sometimes she might not even make enough money, and then her family is depending on that money, that thing she's going to sell to feed them and to pay her tuition. And if she don't make enough money, she don't go to school.
Right.
She don't have, she's not going to have any education. So in order to eradicate those kind of stuff, that's what our program is going to do, help them to pay the tuition to go to school, because we don't want those kids in the streets selling while other kids are going to school.
Right.
So that's why we asking for people to come on board and help us to get these kids to school, because our dream is not for any child in Liberia to be left behind with all being educated.
Right. So when we first started talking, I'm thinking, paying tuition to go to school, like private schools here in the U.S. and everything else like that. Mm-hmm. I was blown away when you told me how much it is for a whole year for a child to go to school, which is about $50 US, right? Wow. Right. And so I think about, I have 3 kids, right? 2 of them that are grown that are out of the house, and one 13-year-old that still lives at home. And I think about, man, just for us to be able to go out to eat is worth 2 kids going to school, right? Us not going out to eat one time or not going to the movies could pay for 2 kids to be able to go to school. And I was like, we have to put this initiative together.
Yeah.
So we looked at how many kids that are needed, and we estimated about 100 kids. Are can't afford to be able to go to school.
Right.
And so that's our initial goal with this initiative, is to be able to help these 100 kids to go to school. So let's paint a picture of what it looks like if they aren't able to go to school. Like if they're not, we talked about if they can raise the money, and that's very, very tough to do.
Right.
But if they aren't, what does a life look like for a child in Liberia?
Well, if they cannot go to school, they're going to end up on the streets doing drugs.
Wow.
They're going to be child prostitutes. And I was there. I remember 2018. I want to talk to some street kids. I was blown away. Like, I couldn't even sit for the interview because this little 13-year-old girl would tell you that she sleeps with men for like 50 cents, 50 American dollars. Wow. So if the kids are not educated, those are the things that they get attracted to.
Right.
But once they are educated, they're going to make better decisions, and they're going to become, people. Productive citizens. So we have this program going on right now that we're doing a survey where we're interviewing street kids to get the percentage of children who are selling in the street versus going to school.
Wow.
And a bunch of them, like we've been getting a whole bunch of kids who are selling and not going to school.
Wow.
It's very sad, because if we continue like that and we don't stop this, we're going to have a whole generation of uneducated people.
Right.
And it's not gonna be good. So we have this initiative to to make these children better people and productive citizens.
So I was thinking about the kids who it is that we're actually going to help, and one of the things I love is that you actually have a librarian team that's on the ground that's actually interviewing the parents and making sure that we have the right kids. So it's not just like we're just sponsoring any kid. No. These are specifically mostly street kids that wouldn't have the opportunity. So whenever it is that you donate, your money is going directly to paying for these kids' tuition. Now, there's a breakdown of what it is that the $50 covers. Can you kind of go over that?
So the tuition the registration is like $10 US, and then they got tuition is like between $17 to $20, and then school shoes, the uniform, and school supplies. Probably school supplies will be like $6, and then school shoes will be like $10, and uniform is like $10. So $50 will cover everything for the child tuition for a year.
Wow. And I just think about how much it is I'm paying right now for school supplies as we get ready to go back to school and everything else like that. $50 covering the whole thing is pretty amazing. So no matter how much it is that you can donate, your donation makes a difference. So this is why it is that we're rallying and ask you to reach into your hearts and to be able to say, how much is it that I can donate? Can I sponsor 1 child, 2 child, 3 child? We've had people that have come on that have sponsored 4 child. We had one sponsor that went in and sponsored 10 children already, which is just mind-blowing, right? And we have one sponsor that's going to match the first 20 kids. So for every kid of the first 20 kids that's sponsored, they're going to match that. So we can, with the first 20 kids, automatically sponsor 40 out of the 100 kids. I just ask you to reach into your heart and say, what is it that can I do to be able to help these children? We have big plans to be able to not just have this initiative, but then to be able to actually build a school actually inside of the village where we could actually, give them even a higher level of education, and they don't have to walk, you said 1.5 to 2 miles in order to be able to get to school each way, right? So there's big plans, but this is where it starts. It starts with getting these kids in school because we have a short amount of time before school starts, right?
Yeah, they open in
September, right. So we're going to run this all through the rest of the month of July and August, really to try and get these kids. And I think that with your help, that we could get all of these 100 kids sponsored to go to school so they don't have to be in the streets selling, and that they can actually become productive members of society. Thank you so much for being here and telling us a little bit about this initiative, and I can't wait to talk more.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk soon. Bye. Okay.